I didn't know you could do that with the thumbs up. That's pretty
Yes.
nice. That's learning new things all the time.
Welcome, everyone. And I'm Dilek Karabujak with the Geographical Society of Philadelphia. I'm the executive director. Today we have our guest, Misoon GHIM. I'll just Jill Weber, our board president, to do the introduction. Thank you all for being here. Please type your questions in the chat. Although it's going to be an hour of a session, Misoon will also give us a little bit flavor of her music at 2 different times. She has 2 pieces that she has recorded. She's going to share that on YouTube. So Jill, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So I am Jill Weber, president of the Geographical Society of Philadelphia. And welcome to our border crossing series. So this is a series in which we have intimate conversations with people immersed in a culture other than our own and the topic at hand. In that case, that culture is music. So we have today with us, we have Misoon GHIM, a mezzo soprano from South Korea with a powerful voice and a striking stage presence, who is extolled for her dramatic sensitivity. Her education in vocal performance includes Temple University, the Curtis Institute, Juilliard, and the Seoul National University. She has had countless operatic performances, performed under the direction of Maestro Wolfgang Sawallisch and Christopher Eschenbach, and with the Philadelphia Orchestra, the New York City Opera, and many, many more, frankly, too numerous to mention. Music can take us on an immersive journey, and both to different times and different places, and also in this case for some important mental calming through the art of breathing. So all of these things and more will we be privy to today from Misoon GHIM. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your kind introduction. And maybe we should just start with listening one of my songs that I've recorded, actually was long ago. It's this aria is from the opera Mezzo Figaro by Mozart. And this is one of the very well-known arias sung by Cherubino, who's a boy. And I am doing a pentrol. And this is only just a sound recording. So I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to share my YouTube page. And here is the YouTube page, and I'm going to put Misoon GHIM non-appeal. And there we go. This was recorded in 2001, which was a long time ago. We're going to go from the very beginning. Okay.
But it
There was not my. Hold on a second.
oh,
Here we go. All right, there was a little bit of technical difficulties.
that's okay.
Okay, that was a recorded in 2001. The piano player, her name is Danielle Orlando. Now she is the director at Curtis Institute of Music, the voice department. She just became a director there last year or 2 years ago. And that was the recording was done at 23rd and Spruce Street. There's a church. It was done there. So I just remember, it was a long time ago, but I remember the location and the pianist, and it was wonderful to be able to make that recording there.
So if I may, you started with your musical persona. Tell us a little bit about how, you know, this journey started in Seoul and how this carried you to Philadelphia. Curtis, I understand, played a major role. So
Sure.
who is Misoon before everything else?
Okay, so I was born and raised in South Korea, and since I was very young, I knew that I was going to be a singer, and I thought that everybody knew what they wanted to, what they want to do it, and I feel grateful that I was able to sort of, recognize that that was there's not much other things that I could think of, in my life. I knew that I was going to be a singer. I was involved with a lot of choirs from, elementary school. And I wanted to, sing better. And I just pursue my, next step, going to a art high school, going to, college that met a wonderful teacher who guided me to become a, performing artist and singer. And then it was very also lucky that I had a teacher who guided me through, because she was graduated from Juilliard School when she was younger age. And I just came to New York and auditioned, and they say they love to have me. So even if my English was really bad,
Yeah.
I was off the boat, I didn't have much to say, but instead of that, I was singing. And they thought that I had, some potential and talent through my musical voice, and my dream came true when I came to New York. So from that time, it's just, one step at a time, doing, my master's degree at Juilliard first. And then I came to also Philadelphia, because during the time when I was in Juilliard, they say there's a wonderful opera program at Curtis. So I said, oh, opera? I don't know anything about opera, but I want to try. So I was just a very curious person from the very early on. I just wanted to know more about different culture. I wanted to see, people from West. I was, just was in small place of Seoul and South Korea. And I just wanted to, I just imagine myself to be in a, interacting each other with different cultural people from different culture. So it was a perfect kind of place for me to stay, New York and Philadelphia. And I'm still in Philadelphia. I love it. I love Philadelphia. So yeah, so that's how I came to, landing in Philadelphia to pursue my musical career as an opera singer, and was very, very lucky that I was, able to enter Curtis And, you know, as you know, the Curtis train musicians for free with a free tuition, which is a very shocking, very that sort of kindness and encouraging young musicians who with free tuition, and if you have a talent, we'll give you the best training in the world. That was a sort of was really amazing to me. And then I got to know the history of Curtis. And then I got to know the history of Philadelphia, about how the spirit of Philadelphia, that we embrace people from other culture across the border, that if there is a passion or talent or something that they can contribute or you know, share their love for music, then they embrace. And I feel that that was the sort of spirit of Philadelphia. And yeah, I mean, I just love Philadelphia, being in Philadelphia, and proud to be one of the Philadelphian.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Yeah. I find the following fascinating, and I wonder whether you can shed some light on this for me. I was born in Vienna, grew up in Vienna, so I was immersed in classical music. But it always seemed amazing to me that people from Asia picked up on European concert music so easily. When I think, I mean, you know, Japan, Korea, China, of course. I mean, one example I think is a good example is Lang Lang, whose father is a pipa player, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
So the family is steeped in a local musical tradition, and the child grows up and from the age of 4 starts playing European concert music. So would you explain to us
Sure.
whether this transition from the traditional art form to the European art form
Mm-hmm.
is a smooth transition, is natural for you and other people, or is it something that you even are aware of? So please elaborate on that question, if you would.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was the question that I was also thinking a lot as a musician. So there are a few different ways to talk about this one. The first one is the general, the Asian cultural, Asian people have a big admiring sort of sense towards Western culture. That is the bottom, that's the first one that I think that. You know, the music, the Western music was able to keep through the form of musical notation system. The music in the world, you know, every culture has music. African music have a music, Asian people, we have music. But to me, the West established the musical notation system in the most perfect way. Of course, there is it's not perfect, but it's much higher than other culture of. So when you play music as an orchestra, for instance, without you know, being able to keep that musical notation system, you cannot have a harmony among many different people. So as a Asian person or Asian people, having that you know, the capability, the availability of a, you know, musical notation system, music, by a master teacher, master composers like Bach. You know, you have to remember that musical notation system only started from about, you know, the early music starting like 1300, 1400. The music existed before there, but there's no way for us to find out about it. So the having that, like, you know, all the classic, for instance, the books, you know, we don't have the book system of book. I mean, it's just nothing. It just comes and goes. So the music is, especially Western music, the availability of playing composition of Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. It came to Asian people as a, it's like a, you know, water in the desert.
Uh-huh.
And it's just so beautiful. We love the harmony. We never even heard about it. The harmony is like a magic. So to you know, Chinese and Korean, Japanese people, that having that classical music is a tremendous gift for us to be able to hear, and now we can play. So that's the kind of a sort of a express in one time. And especially when, you know, it was the East were not so open to West, you know. So now it's open. Now we have you know, recordings, and they were able to hear, and they were explosion to explosive in a search for the beauty of the music.
I mean, the same goes for the instruments, right? Because Asian instruments are much less developed than the European instruments and Western instruments.
Right.
So I think that fits right in what you're saying. The fact that you can play a piano with 100, or that you sing, but you probably play the piano as well. But you
I
can
do.
play.
Yeah.
You can play on a piano with 122 keys.
88.
88. Thank you.
So, I mean, you know, the Western music, there's orchestration in that sort of harmonies, but in Asian culture, it's much more single. There is a lack of
Polyphony, right?
sort of harmonic. Yeah. So I think that's why we love, and we have this like unstoppable desire to make this, to observe all the music that we love to play. It's sort of in that sort of very deep down in our desire. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it's very good. I'm very glad that you explained it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
And also there are so many Asian opera singers in Europe, and we have this thirst that we look up to the culture and the people of West. They are, you know, very elegant, sophisticated, good manner, and there is a big demand for Asian people that we like to sort of, you know, go after their culture, their sophistication, their desire, you know, that all this stuff. So I think that's, to me, that's what's going on.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question, if I might.
Sure.
I would like to know, do you or any other Asian musicians that you know, especially singers, do you have trouble finding roles? Do you face discrimination?
Absolutely.
I thought.
Yeah. Because the theater is, a lot of opera especially, are based on a novel or characters of the European characters. So it is natural for the viewers, and not only just the listeners, but viewers. These days, everything we like to see, the visual effect is very important. So yes, I have done a lot of butterfly, in an opera. Suzuki, I'm a mezzo soprano, so I cannot sing the higher notes that butterfly sings, but I've done a lot of Suzuki. And that role became my sort of easy role for me to do. I've done with the New York City Opera, Philadelphia Opera Company. And then once I establish with a good relationship with a company, like for instance, Opera Delaware, and then I sort of became a friend with them, and I said, I can do Rosina, I can do something other than Asian roles. So I have done, so I sort of like reached out to them, and then I did some other roles as well, which was very good, and it was a blessing for me to be able to play some other roles. But yes, it is what it is, the visual thing. However, these days there's a Lawrence Brown, who's an African-American tenor, who does a lot of Rossini, La Cenerentola, Cinderella, and he does the role of Prince. So there are some, diverse race could get into that, opera characters, but it is what it is. Is that
it's so unfortunate, because I mean, someone who is a Caucasian, they can make up and play anyone they want, and yet someone who is Asian or African American or whatever, they're so often restricted to those roles, and it's not fair.
It does, and especially these days, we are living in an era of it's everything is the visual.
Mm-hmm.
And so some, for instance, it's not about race, but it's about the singers who has a large size,
Mm-hmm.
in trouble
Yeah.
to sing. And I'm a voice teacher, and it used to be much more about, vocal art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about visual art or microphone art.
Mm-hmm.
It's about vocal art.
Mm-hmm.
How you train your voice, how to exclusively, through your voice. And I believe that, in the end, somebody who has a really wonderful vocal capacity could, I mean, they know they have accomplished their arts in art of singing. But yes, it does happen.
So, we are an exploration society. And so I'm kind of wondering, when you do pick up a new role, whether it is Suzuki or whether it is Rosita, how much do you need to explore this new world or person or behavior or whatever?
Yeah. So it all depends on, for instance, when I was at Curtis, and we usually do new roles in one semester. So in about a month, you need to memorize the music first. And then maybe next month, in the second month, you start to do acting coachings. You're working with a director. So once you memorize off the book all the musics, and then you have the chance to work with the director about acting, what line, where do you go, who do you talk to, what are you sad here, are you angry, how do you express in an acting. And then maybe a third month you working with the orchestra, So you do have an orchestra rehearsal. And at the end of that, you have the full production. So it's a very long process of learning a entire role from an opera. And it's and of course once you accomplish learning one role, then you have a chance to work with another company, and more you do, better you become, to get to know the role, get to know the character. Like for instance, Suzuki from Madame Butterfly. And Suzuki is a very supporting role. The character of Suzuki, she is like a mother to the butterfly. And even if she doesn't do a lot of solo singing, she has a lot of ensemble duets. And also I noticed that on the stage of Lincoln Center, when I was making a debut as a Suzuki, there was a moment that Suzuki doesn't sing, but that I was heartbroken by Butterfly's, the tragedy. And I was sort of very sad, and I became completely with Butterfly. And my heart was sinking. And when I was doing acting, people start to cry. So I was, oh my God, my acting is working. Yeah, more you do, more you perform this character, better you become, and you completely you become the character of Suzuki. And when the audience feels my emotion, and that's really wonderful sort of moment for me to experience on stage.
I have a question for you about the Korean singing art of pansori.
Yes.
And you were saying that the Western arts are so complex, but I did take one little class in pansori at a university in Western Philadelphia. It was so complicated and so difficult. How does that art of pansori compare to Western opera? Is it really so simplistic compared to Western opera?
Thank you so much for your kind, your interest.
Oh, yes.
I respect the tradition of Korean singing school, and pansori is one of them.
Oh, it's so wonderful, yeah.
The main difference, pansori is a like an opera, but only one person plays all different roles. In Western opera, there is one person plays one character. I play Suzuki only. I don't play Butterfly or Pinkerton. But in Korean pansori, the person who's a master singer who plays 3 or 4 characters. So can you imagine? I become Suzuki, I become Butterfly. You have to do it entire things. And I was actually listening to one of the most like master Korean pansori singers in YouTube, actually. And the sound was like a carousel. It was very similar, very sort of, the good voice is good voice. The trained voice, they train their voice in entire life from your very young age. And I am very, very interested in more learning about what is this about developing your voice. It's quite amazing. Like in religious school, even Tibetan monks, they sing. All the monks are singers. They sing. Singing is their way to way to connect themselves to the higher power. So I think that in Pansori, the singers, they view life through singing. And of course, their life is hard because, you know, musicians are very poor, especially in Asia. It's very poor, but they commit their life to in singing to find the true meaning of life, true meaning of what life is. And it's like, it's a journey. Like their journey, you know, can be expressed in one song. And I hear this sort of people saying that you must hear these masters singing you before you die. In that kind of sense of dedication. They dedicate their life to music, to vocal arts, to understand the true, the core meaning, what life is. And so in that sense, I am very curious and open to all kinds of vocal arts in West or East. And I know that also Korean people are very serious about, you know, to you know, getting into the real sound of a voice. Somebody who's developing their vocal technique. And in that regard, I think that a lot of Korean singers or Asian singers, they like to study more of a Western operatic technique in a desire to understand the true meaning of the life, I think, in a bigger sense.
So just to add to that, so to me, it seems that something like Pansori is every bit as complex as Western opera. And I imagine that there's other Asian music that is also as complex. I know that the Japanese instrument, the koto, I imagine Korea has something similar to that. These instruments are very complicated to learn. They have their own notation. I don't know that it's right to say that the Western music is so much more complex and more developed. I don't know. You could tell me better, maybe.
Well,
it's really studied both.
Pansori is a form of a vocal art that only what do you call that? It comes after the generation after generation through the oral. It's an oral art. There is no musical notation system for that. But they believe that only oral arts is the way that you can keep the essence of vocal music. I did study a little bit of a vocal ornamentation in Western opera also. And in like 1300, there was a master of Francis, I think, I forgot his name. He was a Catholic priest, and who also you know, loved music and was a singer and Catholic priest. And he did write a book about vocal ornamentation. And he says that once you write it down in musical notation, that's not an ornamentation anymore. It has to be oral. Yeah. So there is a, you know, music notation system and there's an oral system. We are talking about two very different system of obtain the music. And if you are too focused on the musical notation system in order to learn the music, you become a servant to the musical notation system. Your creativity, your own way of interpretation sort of disappears. So you need to make a balance, between oral and ornamental. So pansori is completely oral. There is no musical notation system except only lyrics.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a lyrics, and then you sort of learn it from your teacher, how they just go, they go like, I love you, or I love you, or something like that.
Yes.
So you learn the teachers, their temper also, or in the region's temper. So through that, it is very difficult to write it down, all the musical nuance into a musical notation system. It's an impossible thing.
Mm-hmm.
So once you write it down, when I pull out the Bach music, and then I play, I play the music, it's not. There is a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
What is real? What I learned about the music is from the musical notation system. So it's a very philosophical sort of area. Yeah, but yes, pansori is a very oral tradition of learning that form, and you play different.
That's a really interesting point, because once anything is written, I mean, even if you're talking about cultures, who developed writing, once they get that, then they're almost immutable. I mean, their story is solidified, and then you don't have quite as much change. So there's the possibility that it becomes irrelevant.
Absolutely.
And I think so. With the pansari, does it actually change then? I mean, I realize that people learn the same thing, but is there a mutability to it that keeps it current?
It does. It's mutable. But the only thing is that when people love it, they are the only sort of sense of, oh, that was a good voice. There was a voice that moved people's heart. Then that's the master teacher. So I guess it's a sort of limited to a location, limited to the mother tongue that they use. It's sort of like it's not a test that you can grade on, but it's just sort of like the audience. You have to sort of move audiences. Heart, I guess. Yeah.
If I may, I'm going to jump to the cultural differences. You did bring that up. What about the accessibility to music? Because classical music, there's a taboo, at least, I'm from Turkey, Istanbul. When I was a child, I used to go to opera, classical music concerts. We had the orchestra in Istanbul and many other cities, but it was cheap. They had student ticket options, or it was easily accessible. Here in this country, I think the taboo is that classical music is for the rich. Actually, when you go to a concert, ticket prices are on the, not so affordable rates for some, right? So how do you see that from the Asian perspective and United States? And also, you are an educator, you are a teacher, mother of 2 young musicians.
Yeah.
How do you reach out to that community? You are part of that community.
Yeah.
You've done amazing things with your voice school.
I think that the fundamental difference, when I grew up in Korea, I was exposed to music at school.
Mm-hmm.
In Philadelphia, my kids, my daughter, Hannah, my daughter, she went to a Juilliard Academy of Music program for middle school and high school. And Liam went to Greenfield, and then now he's in Masterman. But the music theory, like how to read musical notation in a music staff and that sort of thing, I don't think it's very accessible to many. And I think that in that way, there are some really talented kids. And I think that we should give them an opportunity to be exposed to. Means that if they have some kind of music, book in their public education system, but I don't think they have that in public, like a math book. There is a social studies book, but there is no music songbook. If they have a songbook that has from Turkey or from a song from Korea, song from China, I think that would be a wonderful way to sort of get to know some other culture other than, America. I know there's a lot of diversities and, encouragement going on, but I think that music can be a really easy access for kids to be exposed to music. What is, how do you read music? How do you compose music? How to write a song? I was always wondering about that. Why don't they have a music class in more broader sense in public music systems?
Because it costs money and they don't want to pay a teacher. That's why. Did you hear it? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why.
I mean, this country, they have so much money.
Not every school district, though. Schools are
Right.
and
And also in the very bottom of that mentality, they don't have money and then they educate kids to the main, the way of life, the money is very important, but also beauty is important too. I think that if we shift our gear to just life is not about just making money and then live a great life, but also the life can be wonderful if we chase for beauty, the beauty of the sound or beauty of the art or beauty of dance. I think that we have to, I wish there is a way that we can make more balance out of that instead of, because they say like science and math and you become a, expert on the number and then we become a rich country. But I don't know, as a musician, if people can appreciate the beauty of music instead of, I know there is a classical music or opera is for rich people. And yes, it costs money to make music. But I think that for young children, we have to, if we teach them, I don't think it costs so much. Teach them the beauty of music. What's the listening to a music, and not just entertaining music. There's a music that now it's all about entertainment, more fun. Fun and fast and that's fun so that the young people can be much more easily access to those kind of a form. But I don't know, it's just that there is a beauty of beautiful music, beauty of a good sound. If once we are exposed to that kind of it's also an art, because not if you just listen to the music, people say like classical music is boring. It is boring because you have to get trained to open up your ears, how to listen to the music or how to see a beautiful art. I think that also gives us to the fulfillment of what life is like. It's not about all money, but there is a sort of other than monetary sort of what is the right word? Monetary discipline.
Mhm.
But there's a discipline that, beauty is also important, right?
Yeah, and in that sense, as you say, that kids have to understand a little bit to understand its beauty. It's a little bit like a foreign language, in that you need to learn a little bit of the language to understand it. So, as an opera singer in particular, where you're singing in so many different languages, how do you go about? Do you feel you learn the language, or you just learn the song, or you just learn the emotion, or how does that work?
So the language was very difficult for me. So learning the song part, because I was sort of lucky to have that talent, musical talent, but then learning the language. And then eventually language becomes like a syllable. You have to understand, not, I cannot sing, Italian opera like Italians, but once you learn the language, it's possible. And the other thing is that I was lucky also that I was doing a national tour this country with the San Francisco Opera right after Curtis. I did Marriage of Figaro, and I took the role of Cherubino. I was a young boy, and we did 50 cities in this country from West Coast to East Coast for about a month and a half. It was a wonderful experience for me. And we stopped by in all those small cities and big cities. And a lot of young people really loved the opera. They loved, even if they don't understand the language, there was a subtitle. And, opera, the synopsis is not very complicated. It's very simple. It's that, there's a conflict, there's a love, and then there's a how to get over that. So in that sort of simple sense of conflict and then make peace of it. And then there's a beautiful music. And I was very impressed with the quality of, appreciation from the young audience. And people, I think that there is a big sort of love. People love classical opera and classical music, but then accessibility, I guess. And that comes to money. So, yeah.
We have about 5 minutes. We can go over time if people, whoever wish to stay, it's more than welcome. I want to be respectful of your time, Misoon, first of all, and everybody else's. Tell us a little bit about the voice, the breathing, like a good fresh breath. How are we going to all deal with this pandemic now that we're home or, kind of bound?
Yeah. So I was a singer, and in order to sing, we don't use microphone. So I was trained to sing louder and sing longer in that phrase in order to sing the entire long phrase. So naturally, I was learning a lot about breathing technique and how to maximize your power of breathing to sing quite loud, and also how to sing sort of calm, and that comes with also wonderful important breath support. And then I also in those times I was researching all the breathing support, and what is the right way to breathe. And then I come up to another Korean form of martial arts, and Hapkido. And then they know how to use the power of breathe. There are some Asian martial arts people, they have a big, like a baseball bat, and they just go to bang and they just break them. That cannot be possible without breathing. And then how can it be possible? Breathing and that big, material. The breathing is so invisible, and the material is so hard and dense, so dense. But in the end, the breathing is that important, that can break that such a dense material. So what I let's see what I can. So breathe through your nose. This is a very simple thing, but then daily exercise is very, very important. So breathe through your nose, and then you feel that air to your lower abdomen, not just a long chest. So breathe through your nose, and then imagine that your air goes to your lower abdomen area, and that becomes firm. And then hold for 3 seconds. And then you let it out with shh. But the key is try to have that lower abdomen firm, even if you exhale. So I inhale, and then so it is very easy to lose all the air, and also that sort of your firmness in your lower abdomen while you're exhaling. But if you can sort of sustain that lower abdomen area while you're doing that would be wonderful. So holding also 3 seconds of, so let's try together. So breathe through your nose, and then hold for 1, 2, 3, and then for 3 seconds. And then again, inhale through your nose, and hold for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and then out for 3. Try that over and over. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I feel better already, but so I guess, I mean, I can imagine people probably have many questions, and I have a feeling we'll have you back maybe for an in-person appearance at one of our events when we're over pandemic, so we can maybe hear you perform for us.
Sure, love to.
You have one other piece that you wanted to play, so I'll do a closing remark, and then maybe I'll let you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First of all, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. So we have couple of events coming up. Grace was kind enough to remind me. So the next one will be with Jet Wine Garden. Jill was again kind enough to accept our invitation, and she's opening up her wonderful garden. Actually, it's beautiful. It's on South Street. So we'll do an ancient wine tasting. As you know, Jill is an archaeologist by training, so she's really going to go and tell us all about those 3 wines. Jill,
wines from Georgia, Turkey,
okay,
and Lebanon.
Georgian, Turkish, and Lebanese.
Sorry, Georgia, Turkey, and Greece.
Georgia, Turkey, and Greece. So we'll have those wines, and it's on October 11. And I will send out communication about that, October 11 at 2 p.m. But keep an eye on in your inbox. That message will come to you soon. After that, we have I'm very excited about that. One of our new board members, Gabriela Cesarino, we've been talking about how to bring the immigration, the international, to Philadelphia and to Geographical Society of Philadelphia. So we will go to Delaware River's Pier 53, and there we're gonna invite a speaker along with Gabriela, Susan I forget her last name, McCannanly, Susan. She became an expert. She's a landmark actually along that. It's the Staten Island of Philadelphia. So Susan has amazing memorabilia, and Gabriella's really extensive knowledge on the city planning, environmental aspects of our city, and international. Of course, you may know Gabriella is originally from Brazil, and with a lot in her ancestry. She will bring Susan to that program. So we're looking at a later date in October, but that is also coming up. And then we will have, I have to go to my notes here. November 14. It's a weekend, yes, because we have an international photographer. His name is Casper Molinar. He is, has been following the footsteps of another, almost a century earlier photographer. His name is Kurt Hilscher. He will present from overseas, and he will have a really loaded program. More details will be coming. Again, keep an eye, it's in November. So we will have another Marco Polo Grace was asking about. It's going to be early December. We're still thinking about the content of it. We're working on it. And we have Tibet Marco Polo, that coming up in March, April. We're still looking to solidify those dates. So this is it for now. And again, keep an eye on your inbox. Any questions you may have, get back to us. And again, any support, your donations are always very much appreciated. Thank you for being here today, supporting the Geographical Society. Once again, thank you so much, Misoon, for taking part in our program. A big round of applause.
감사합니다.
감사합니다. Your organization sounds really interesting. A lot of diversity, different countries, and wine going on. Wow.
You're welcome to attend. You're welcome to.
I might. Yeah, sounds really wonderful.
You're now learn your lifelong membership with us.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Misoon. So,
thank you, Misoon. That was really interesting. Very, very nice. And I loved your aria.
Oh, thank you.
how about now we wrap it up with that last piece, Misoon, if you don't mind.
Yes, so I'm going to play Ave Maria, and it's by Bach and Gounod. Gounod sort of rearranged based on the melody by Bach. So let's see. Not this one. All right, let me see. There we go. No, this is right here.
Brava.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to meet you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for coming. We'll all be in touch.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.